This talk is about targeted social engineering attacks, how psychology is being weaponized against people. But really, it's also about what's coming, what we have been observing in the sphere of social engineering attacks, how the attacks have been evolving, and what we will have to face in the coming years. We already see different types of attacks. We will see more of those in the years to come. But first, a couple of words about me. Who am I to talk about that? My name is Christina Lekati. I have a background and degree in psychology, but I have been working in cybersecurity. Specifically, I have been working for Cyber GmbH, based in Zurich, as a trainer and consultant on the human element of cybersecurity. I have been conducting the social engineering awareness trainings for the board of directors. We specialize in custom specialized trainings for specific needs, but I'm also the lead investigator when it comes to open source intelligence vulnerability assessment for high-value targets and corporations. Last, I have been a very happy and proud member for the OSINT Curious project. But let's dive right in. We start with a case that we had the luck to have a reported case on these types of attacks. This came from Proofpoint. It's a very good report. If you want to read it, the link is there. It's about Marcella Flores, a fake online account, who behind this account actually was a state-sponsored threat actor. Very well-crafted Facebook profile with this inviting lady who had a very soft spot about people working in the aerospace defense industry. Most of her contacts were employees and people working in the aerospace defense industry. And she was connecting with them, talking with some. And at some point, let's say in 2019, with one specific individual, we observed that there was an initial contact, a friend request. He accepted. She stayed there. Didn't do anything for 1 full year. In fact, it's one of the very few long-term social engineering attacks we have been observing. And fun fact, these are the types of attacks that we had so many people thinking, this would never happen. But it happens a lot more than we think. It doesn't see the light of day that often. So for 1 full year, she didn't do anything. Why? We'll see. November 2020, almost many months after, she initiates contact with her target, that individual we are examining in the report, based on just one common interest, something they were both interested in. He responds, he likes it. Let's also think it was November 2020, the time of the pandemic, where everybody was a bit home and alone. They started talking, they started building a relationship, escalating from one social media platform to the phone, WhatsApp messaging, exchanging little pictures, exchanging little videos, having nice conversation, and that goes on for 8 months. 8 months for a social engineering campaign? Wasting so much time? Why? We will see. But here's the first thing we have been observing in the way social engineering attacks have evolved and in the way they are starting to go. They are not these quick hit and runs anymore, and they do start targeting more and more what people want and what people need. We have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we see that, we all need to feel love and affection. We all need to feel a sense of belonging with one another. We need a social circle that's going to be around for us and that raises our self-esteem, that makes us feel confident, that is a reliable listening ear, a shoulder to lean on. Is this a human weakness? We have been hearing so often this, the same thing again and again. People are the weakest link of security. You cannot patch stupid. But is it stupid to just have your human nature and have social engineering trying to exploit it? This is the name of the game. It's not about people being stupid. It's the simple fact that we are humans and some will try to exploit our human nature. So sure, we still have a lot of the phishing hit and run campaigns, the ones that have time pressure, the classic funny-looking email address from the sender, the awkward grammar. Yeah, we still get those, and we keep going to getting those. These are not going out of fashion all of a sudden because they still work. But we also see that some organizations have started to become a bit more sophisticated. They start to recognize them, but we also see the attackers evolving into more elaborate campaigns because they are much more successful. Ones that involve longer reconnaissance, ones that have a more tailored and personalized approach to them. So not just these random numbers game, phishing emails being sent out, or those rather standard spear phishing. They are really, really tailored. They use more elaborate mind games. They exploit our psychological nature, and slowly we start seeing deep fakes getting into the mix as well. And we see those especially from state-sponsored threat actors. Now, if some of you are in companies that belong to the highest risk profile, the ones that have sensitive research, the ones that belong to the critical infrastructure, yes, you should be very much worried about this. But let's see what happened with Marcella. Yeah, she was talking with that person for 8 months. How did this conclude? Well, in the report, and what ends up in the report are the results, like just the facts. And there are a lot of things that happen in between the lines that get missed. So in the end, Marcella sent out an email. They were talking about the pandemic. They were talking about diets. And she said, hey, my dear, this is a diet survey. You should fill out your experiences, especially during the pandemic period at home. Please press enable editing. To enable content and to see the full page. This is the link. It was a Google Drive link. Send me soon. Thanks for your kindness and your participation. Cheers. Marcy. Let me tell you, of course, there was some flirting added to the mix. But, so he did. He said, yeah, I'm going to help this friend and who knows what else. I'm going to help her out. He clicked on the link. Yes, there was a trusted relationship by then, which was the whole point of this engagement lasting so long. And enabled the content, downloaded the macros, and eventually downloaded what was dubbed as the Lempo malware, which was designed to establish persistence, perform reconnaissance, and exfiltrate sensitive information. And as they say, there is this history. Was she a one-case scenario? Did this happen just once? Is it a black swan, one of the things that you cannot anticipate? No. This is something that we see happening a lot, but doesn't get out in the news all that often. There were more cases. Facebook reported a whole set of similar accounts trying to do the same. LinkedIn is full of those. You probably have heard that. And there are many, many others as well. The kill chain is usually the same. They target specific people in key positions. They perform long reconnaissance, mostly through social media, because social media is a gift that keeps on giving for reconnaissance. And now if you were wondering, what did it take her so long to establish a connection? Well, they were studying their targets, and they do study their targets nowadays. So yes, of course, then you have the online persona, which is the medium through which the attack can happen. The approach is personalized, like we said, and very, very often we see them escalating their targets from one platform to another to appear more legitimate and believable. Facebook, from Facebook to LinkedIn to Instagram, because if you have an online presence, you must be a real person. No. Of course, then eventually to WhatsApp, phone numbers, email addresses, work email. Perfect. And through this casual relationship building that looks a lot like the way we make friends in everyday life, they take this trust building and exploit it in a very regular, casual, everyday manner. Nothing out of the ordinary. These were the details. You don't have to read them. Whoever wants the slides can ask me for them after the talk, and I will be happy to email them to you or send them. But They all have common characteristics. The difference is only roughly in the exploitation, how they decide to exploit the contact. Did they want to harvest credentials? Other times they want to send out a malicious email that downloads malware. And of course the goal sometimes differs as well. Most of the times the case is epic. What's behind it is an espionage operation and they need to collect sensitive information. Why go through all this trouble for so long? What do they gain out of it? What is it in it for them? Because don't forget, threat actors, they also care about return on investment. They care about how they spend their time. So yeah, there is a case where there's an attack that harvests credentials in the end or malware infection. But this whole time, there is also an effort to elicit sensitive information. Human intelligence tactics that we used to see in espionage operations are now happening in cyberspace through virtual human intelligence operations, through these fake profiles, through casual conversation whose goal is to blend in specific targeted questions. We're going to talk about that a little later. But yeah, 8 months, Marcella Flores took 8 months to exploit the relationship. Imagine how much information she gained on the targets in that time. About technologies, about things that are happening at work. I've seen these conversations and people talk. Of course, in other cases, we also have insider threat grooming. This is not random. They spot the ones that are unhappy at work, that have needs in life, that a threat actor or some more money could fill in. And by establishing a connection and a relationship, eventually they groom them into willful, knowledgeable insider threats. Again, it supports long-term espionage operations as well, but once you have a connection with someone in a key position, imagination is the limit. Any number of things can happen. And what we know about social engineering is that there are no rules. And this is the whole point of weaponizing psychology. Yes, we deal with a lot of technical challenges and we must. It's an essential part of the work, but this is also a behavioral problem. How do you go around telling your employees you shouldn't talk to strangers? You should keep secrets secret? This is a behavioral issue. Employees and managers that can provide access to technology, information, or assets become targets. And they have the responsibility to protect those assets. Can they do it? Do they have the skills and knowledge necessary to detect those attacks? Not always. And that's the thing. Cybersecurity and security technology has been advancing. But identifying and exploiting human vulnerabilities, also human psychology, it has remained the same across centuries and across the globes. The human stimulus response in human triggers is consistent, and exploiting these triggers is also consistently successful. And if you just think about it from the side of the threat actors, it's efficient, it is low cost, it is low risk, and it's high reward because it works consistently. Is it that hard to find somebody's unmet needs? Is it that hard to find this one thing that triggers them? No. We said before that social media is a gift that keeps on giving. We can scout somebody's digital footprint, and we do that when we conduct vulnerability assessments and find exactly what makes them tick because they share it, either explicitly or implicitly in one way or another. If there is a digital footprint, there will be traces of behavioral patterns as well. People that have addictions, people that need more money for whatever reason, people that are lonely, a very human thing. These are all gaps and needs that a threat actor can spot and try to fill. And since I have conducted risk profiles on high-value targets, again, these are the sum of the data points that we have found we can collect on individuals. Only from social media profiles, yeah? The locations, where do they go? Where do they frequent? Do they go to the gym every so often? Do you think attacks only happen during office hours? No, they also happen at the gym. They happen at the golf club. They happen anywhere really. At conferences, during travel. You have this stranger that suddenly comes in and starts talking to you. We see what their connections are. Who are the key people? Who do they trust? Do they have a family? Are they lonely? Do they have nobody? Did they just divorce? All these are the points that are collected and could be weaponized against them in one way or another. And then, of course, you have the whole psychological profile. You see these individuals. Are they extroverted? Again, there is no problem with you having an online presence, but the point is you need to know where to draw the boundaries when you communicate with others, especially when it comes to practicing certain cybersecurity habits, like downloading attachments or disclosing sensitive information. Because I know this sounds a bit too much. It is too much. People, threat actors will spot if you're an extrovert, if you're willing to talk to others, which is perfectly fine. They will try to exploit it though. What are your interests? What do you want? What do you miss? They collect that. But let's go back to sensitive information, because I feel this gets a bit overlooked at times. And yes, there is a digital layer to what happens with information, but there is also the human layer of what happens with information, the people that know about things. It has a very high value. Think about business plans, strategies, biddings, negotiation strategies. Also credentials, of course. Also passwords and access to systems, technology, giving entry. But yeah. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, classified information and the unauthorized disclosure of classified information is the communication or physical transfer of classified information or controlled unclassified information to an unauthorized recipient. And this can happen intentionally in the case of a mistake or in the case of an insider threat, but it can also happen unintentionally when an individual elicits this information out of you and draws them out in a casual conversation. It has many attackers, like cybercriminal organizations, hacktivists that oppose your company's moves and what your company stands for, nation states with a geopolitical agenda, journalists that want to get a good story out of your business's operation, and corporate espionage operatives. Again, it's not in everybody's threat model, but critical organizations that belong to the critical infrastructure are an extremely attractive target for these types of operations. Let's take another case study. Mia Ash, who was a fake profile again. Behind this fake profile was another state-sponsored threat actor, likely called Cobalt Gypsy. She targeted telecommunications, government, defense, oil, and financial services organizations in Middle East and North Africa. Now, Mia Ash was not the original plan. The original plan was simply to send out a set of phishing emails, the numbers game, massively to a number of individuals. It would eventually deliver a remote access tool. But this didn't work. They sent out the phishing email. It was royally unsuccessful. And they thought, okay, we need a plan B. We need to do something better. What would that be? And it was Mia. It was this sweet persona that you see on your screens right now. Side note, it's not only women targeted men. There are also males targeting women. It just happens to be that the ones that are public right now happen to be women, female profiles targeting men. But it can happen to anybody. It can happen to all types of individuals, no matter what their preferences are. So Mia Ash, again, fake identity using several social media accounts, and she was used to perform reconnaissance, to collect information on the targets, and to establish a relationship with them based on specific hobbies. Once again, She would start the conversation based on their common interest in photography, and then it would escalate, like we said before, to other profiles, to different communication methods. And she would build a relationship very casually. And once the work email was provided, she would find a ruse. She would say something like, hey, I really want to deliver my portfolio to this challenge, and I would appreciate nothing more than your opinion. Can you quickly check it? I have like a 10-minute window to submit it. I was so stressed out to send it out, and now I'm running late with my deadline. Yes, but I'm at work. It will only take 5 minutes. I just want your precious opinion. The target downloaded. It was an extremely successful attack. They downloaded the attachment, and the remote access tool was delivered to their machines. What a mess. And how do we defend against this threat? As a general rule, there are no rules and no one is exempt. That goes to say that, everybody needs to know basic cybersecurity habits, good cybersecurity habits, and apply them from the services, the call center that has certain access to information, to the high-value targets, to the people higher up in the hierarchy. We talked about elicitation. How does this work? Yeah, we said it's casual conversation, but there is a technique behind it. Elicitation is an effort in which seemingly normal conversation is contrived to extract sensitive information about individuals, their work, and their colleagues. How does it sound like? 3 of the most popular methods are flattery. This, you are the only one who can help me with this one thing that I need, and I value your opinion so much. Please help me. Flattery. Second is the familiarity and the tribe instinct. This was another case. Hey, we are both in the same industry, so from one IT pro to another. What do you think about this technology? I don't know. I just cannot bring myself to decide whether I want to buy it for our organization. Have you used it? Was it good? Do you have something else to recommend? I'm just so lost. That's an elicitation technique. And then the third one, empathy and the tendency to complain, the tendency to want to share our problems with others, which is perfectly fine, but if they contain sensitive information, trust it to the people that can be trusted with it. So it goes like this. You had a terrible day at work. I know, I had one too. My boss, I don't know, it just cannot understand the demands of my work, but I'll tell you about it. But first about you, what happened? You have this acquisition, you're stressed. Yeah, we had one too. What's going on? Tell me, maybe I can help. Elicitation technique. It's not unknown in the field of espionage. We are seeing more espionage techniques coming and have adapting to the cybersecurity industry to cyber attacks. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency gives guidelines on those, but 3 main rules, we don't have to overcomplicate things. 3 main rules to avoid being a victim of elicitation techniques is knowing what information should not be shared. Being suspicious of the people who ask or pry around this information. Sometimes when you don't answer the first time around, you will notice that they persist. No, really, tell me. No, I really need to know. And you will notice that they have a particular interest eventually. And last, simple, do not tell people things they are not authorized to know. Even the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency, they say it so simply. Don't tell people that are not authorized to know things that they are not supposed to know. High-value targets, the executives, they sometimes need to be handled differently. Both because they have an extremely high they have elevated access to information, to systems, to everything. So they are lucrative targets, but they also need to be handled differently sometimes. when we work vulnerability profiles on them, and if you need to run a vulnerability profile on them, how do you do it? What do you focus on? 5 main areas. What is the criticality of their role? What is their degree of importance? What happens if they get compromised? Do a whole lot of things go wrong after that? This is what criticality points you to, so that you can prioritize a little bit, because we cannot be everywhere for everyone, and, we are limited in terms of resources as well. What's their level of recognizability? Do they have a public profile? And by the way, by high value targets, I don't only mean executives. These are also the people that work in sensitive projects. Are they recognizable? Would you be able to find information on them online? Would an adversary be able to find out who they are? Who are the key people working in key positions? And what information is out there about them? Accessibility is the ease of approach. So if I know they are critical and I know who they are, can I spot them at a conference? Can I spot them at the gym? Can I approach them online? Do they talk? Do they engage with strangers online? Would I have a good chance with them? And to that plays in their level of vulnerability as well. Do I see clear weaknesses on that individuals, like the ones we talked about before? Do I see something that I could readily exploit? Your adversaries will go through this process. And you see they did. And last, the key piece, if they do receive this type of attack, would they be knowledgeable enough to detect it or know how to handle it? Or would they get lost or possibly not recognize it? One important thing is that these attacks prey a lot on ignorance, like most social engineering attacks. If you don't know what a threat or a danger looks like, you cannot protect against it. So think, how many of you have educated your boards on these types of threats, or in cybersecurity in general? I know that some of you probably have to deal with boards and executives that say, oh, no. Ignorance is bliss, knowledge is a liability. I don't want to hear any of this. I don't want to hear about the threats. I would never be a target. Leave me alone. I have other more important things to pay attention to, like my profit, please. But there are also the boards that are interested. They want and they need to know about these threats. Or when you are facing resistance, again, don't drop it. We should insist. This is about their safety, their organization's safety. I think we should insist a little bit on getting the message through to them on why cybersecurity matters. Some others will think, this is all way too advanced. Our employees fall for the simplest phishing attacks. I cannot bother with targeted email attacks as well. Forget it. No. And it's too complicated. What am I going to do? Go around and tell people not to talk to strangers? It's not about that. First of all, let's not oversimplify complicated threats. Reports that come out about social engineering, for example, they have, for the sake of word count, they have to say that phishing emails is the top threat. But you see that the way this phishing email is being delivered also matters to its effectiveness. So, and let's also not overcomplicate simple solutions. In the end of the day, they need to know what to protect and where the boundaries are. You don't have to go around and tell them, stop talking to everybody online. But you have to tell them, know that what should not be shared and do not share it for reasons A, B, C, D. And know how to exercise basic cybersecurity habits and stick with them. And the way you deliver this message also matters. I believe the keynote speaker earlier today mentioned a little something about providing very boring video trainings that people just want to click through, and they eventually get totally fed up with hearing about cybersecurity because it's all being a drag and a necessary evil and necessity. They have to go and click through the slides and click through the videos while they have other things to do. No, you can provide something more engaging for them, and we should do that as an industry. And if your employees are still falling for the simple phishing emails, and this is still a problem, don't just let it be. We have to do something about it. Attacks are not going to get any simpler. They become more complicated and more advanced, and we have to be able to catch up one way or another as an industry. It's not an unusual threat that might not happen. The probabilities are high that you will encounter it, so yeah. In most case scenarios, what have people that fell victims to cyber attacks, whether this was an elicitation technique, somebody malicious engaging them online and them falling for it, or spear phishing emails, they say, and these are very common quotes, by the way, yeah, I thought that something was off. I was not really sure how to respond, and in the spur of the moment, I just went with it. That's because of bad training usually. Oh yeah, I spotted it, but then what? I learned about the threats, but how do I handle it once the person is pressuring me? That's bad training. Others say, oh yeah, so it happened. I downloaded the file. I knew it was bad, but I didn't report it because I felt I would be implicated and I didn't want to get fired. What a bad message. What a bad security culture. It's such a pity if your employees think that reporting it will jeopardize their careers instead of saving their organization. That has to do with, again, awareness, but also your cybersecurity culture. Other people say, I was under a lot of time pressure and my manager would not appreciate that verification call. Why does your manager think that it's not important to verify certain requests? You see the quotes and you spot the weaknesses that you need to work on. I don't expect anybody to have the perfect plan and not to have any weaknesses, but these are things we need to work on. Security is a process, but we have to do something about this process and not just let things be. And last, it did not even cross my mind that I could actually be a target. I'm not that important. The result of bad training, the result of a bad cybersecurity culture, or just doing like 15 minutes per year on what social engineering attacks are and how they work in an effective way. If I had only 5 tips for the employees, they would be, yes, technology is still important. It does matter to minimize employee decision-making and use the principle of least privilege when possible, but it's not going to be enough because we see that threat actors target them through private channels. So then on top of that, good quality training that actively engages people, that doesn't have them sit passively behind the screen and just clicking through, but actively engages them and makes them interested in what's happening because they are personally implicated. That would go a long way. And seriously, if you're going to spend that money on awareness training, make it worth it. Get something that's interactive. In extent, this will help you reinforce a security mindset within your organization. You will have a trainer and advocate coming and building that mindset within your employees and saying, when in doubt, go to this guy right here who's in your security department and can talk to you. These people are not strangers. They can also communicate with you. I hope you do. And ask. And in the end, also on a practical level, it helps to run simulations, to run exercises, and to reinforce good practices for people to know how to detect and respond to an attack. If you want to take it a step further, do conduct a vulnerability assessment. Open source intelligence is central to cybersecurity, both on a corporate level and on an individual level for high-value targets. If you can have a vulnerability assessment done on them internally or through an external, whatever you prefer, based on those 5 factors we saw before, it's worth it. It can go a long way, and you can take the results of that assessment, put them in the report, put them in the training that they take, and I guarantee you they will be so much more interested to see that training that has a vulnerability assessment done on them in a diplomatic and non-accusatory manner. They will be so much more interested to hear what's happening than just getting an out-of-the-box classic, standardized cybersecurity awareness training that has some things that relate to them, some things that don't relate to them, and in the end of the day, I want to do other things. The good news, neuroplasticity. I'm so thankful for this part of my studies. So we learned that our brains are capable of creating new behavioral pathways that can become automatic. So for everybody that is totally frustrated and defeated with the fact that, we've done so many security trainings and the material just don't get through, this just tells you need to find a different way to communicate the material. Neuroplasticity says that you can teach old dogs new tricks, you can create new neural pathways, and if you do it in an engaging way, eventually people will be able to create automatic mental pathways. They see the trigger, they see the red flag, and they automatically think, okay, I've heard about this before, I should be careful, let's stay on the safe side. That's the whole point of neuroplasticity. These things will eventually become automatic, and your people won't have to spend mental energy on them. I've seen this happening, thankfully, there is hope. This is a topic that in general extends both deep and wide. We only have a few minutes here, but if you are interested, I definitely recommend you read the elicitation guide from the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. They talk about the elicitation techniques. You could lend parts from this guide and put them in your awareness training if you want. Or if you're interested in the kill chain and more details about general social engineering attacks, I also wrote a lengthier article that you can also get some information from. Overall, I hope you take it seriously. I know it's difficult. I know it's a process. Nobody's perfect. It's fine. But don't just let it be, and don't give up on your people thinking they are just useless. There are things we can do. Thank you very much for being here. And I think we can take a few questions while we still have 5 minutes. Yes.
Hi. There's one thing I was really interested in. Thank you for the interesting talk, by the way. But there's one thing that you said that I wanted to hear, if you could explain why this is. You said that we should expect more of these attacks in the future. What are the mechanisms that are driving that?
What are the mechanisms of?
That are driving an increase.
The mechanisms that are driving the increase are the simple reward that they get. The fact that they are successful makes threat actors say that, okay, this is something that works more consistently, so I won't be spending time and resources on attacks that have a 50% rate of success when I can just get this type of attack that has a way higher rate of success, and I can do more things with it. Plus, we have been observing it. We hear more and more cases. Like 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't have as many cases as we have today, with people being approached through social media and getting pride to complain for whatever reason about their companies. We see a lot more of this. I think they do it because they see it works, and they see they can do a lot through it.
Yeah. I got a question too, and I got the microphone, sorry. I am a pen tester, and when I work to assess vulnerability on a system, it's usually not the one who projects the product, but some platform that are used to development, integration, and so on. My question is, when you do the vulnerability assessments on human beings, there is not a platform on which you can test whatever you want, because you can do some eventually damages, including psychological damages, if you try to threaten or try to flirt with someone that is married, or I don't know. So I believe that you draw a line somewhere that real attackers don't. So how do you deal with that, and where is the line?
You most certainly draw a line. You cannot approach it with a pen point of view exactly because we deal with some ethical lines here, but this is why you draw the risk profile and you have the people, you explain to the people why this is important for them. They have to give you their approval on running a test and using their social media. And they do. Believe me, the ones that feel, that understand the threat and they know what it can mean for them, if they trust the service provider, they're going to say, please. But of course, you ensure confidentiality. Of course, you ensure that you have a trusting relationship and that you treat them with dignity and respect. But it is happening. The vulnerability profile, the risk profile, these things you do not have to engage with the target in a way that involves them psychologically, but you just take out the information you find online from their own digital footprint and you tell them, look, this is one attack vector by ABC, these vulnerabilities. This is how we have been observing threat actors exploiting this information. What do you want to do? Do you want to eliminate them? Do you want to also gain the knowledge that you might encounter ABC types of attacks? This is usually how we go about it. They know they will be researched, but not engaged with. No, because you don't ask them to respond to it. You ask them to give you permission to go through their digital footprint and show them what could be used against them. So no, I'm not going to chat with them. I know that if I chat with them and I use ABC, the trigger points, they are likely to respond, and this is how we approach it. But you do not have to flirt with them. Yes.
I wondered, while trying to protect your company, for example, we might have a risk maybe to change the mood inside the company, because while saying to people, okay, be aware of the question you are asked, they will change their behavior also, and maybe your company might become a company less friendly regarding the outside and also inside. How do you deal with that?
That's a very valid question. What happens when we rain threats on our people and tell them don't engage online with strangers? But this is exactly where the danger, lies. You do not want to tell them, remove your social media profiles, don't talk with anyone online. No, it's what we talked about right here from the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. Talk with them, talk with everybody, have your online profile, but know when to draw the boundaries and what boundaries to draw. What does that person that is talking with you, what shouldn't they know about your company? And maintain that boundary in a healthy way. That's what it is about. Because, of course, many of us need to have, many companies as well, they need to have an online presence. They need to engage with customers online or with partners, business partners. But the boundaries, this is my last point. We talked about not overcomplicating our solutions. In the end, it is about maintaining security best practices. Thank you. Yes, we can have one more, or you choose.
I'll take one. Thank you very much for an interesting talk. It's good to be back at that slide. Do you have any evidence that works? Are people able to set boundaries and maintain them once they're approached with the right trigger points? Aren't they facing with professionals who can try out N different trigger points with different online fake personalities until it finally works?
Yes, there is evidence that this works because people end up reporting it and say, hey, I've been receiving these communications and I feel extremely uncertain about it. And then they go and ask their cybersecurity department, which comes and asks us sometimes. So we have evidence that it works. Now, of course, you can have persistent threats that try to find this one angle that will work, but it comes down to how perceptive the target is, how knowledgeable they are in terms of spotting. It is about risk management in there and increasing your defense probabilities against cyber threats. You hope that they will keep recognizing suspicious activity when it happens. Also, sometimes when you have this threat actor trying to pry from every angle different profiles, these individuals end up realizing that, okay, I must be pretty valuable for them, and now I don't want to have to deal with this anymore, and decide to mass block everybody for a bit. So there is also that happening, but it works. Okay, one thing, it won't work with everybody because people are people, but it's about raising your probabilities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting, and thank you for the questions. We'll have 10 minutes break before the next talk, so feel free to work around if you want.